Brittney Griner, who was imprisoned in Russia in a man's prison, which I had no idea.
Is under fire for extremely aggressive behavior portrayed toward Caitlin Clark, the rookie from last year, the one that has everybody's focus in the WNBA. And this incident has, of course, gone viral online, but also sparked up some other skeletons in Brittney's closet that she probably wants to stay hidden.
Brittney received the biggest surprise of her life. It's not from a surprise birthday celebration either. Brittney is in complete terror when doctors disclose some bizarre and shocking information regarding her health. Caitlin Clark turned the entire situation upside down by going full attack mode, which made things even more bizarre. What took place after that? You won't believe a second of this hilarious craziness, so stay put because it's about to become really intense.
Y'all gotta see this. So Brittney Griner has just been banned from the WNBA after this situation with Caitlin Clark is going viral, where she made some extremely racist remarks from the bench after getting fouled out by Caitlin Clark. I mean, this is just insane. Just watch this video, bro.
Brittney Griner just had a complete meltdown. No, it's not because the final piece of pizza was consumed. No, it's because the WNBA's carefully constructed woke safe zone trembled like a Jenga tower in a hurricane once the physicians unloaded a huge reality bomb. You heard correctly, though. The same Brittney Griner who has been yelling, elbowing, and essentially turning women's basketball into a WWE pay-per-view is now terrified because medical professionals have chosen to examine her biological state more closely.
Who could have predicted that Brittney Griner might get mistaken for a man?
Here's the really good part. We've all been told for the past 6 years that all it takes to be eligible to dominate women's sports is to just announce that you're a woman. Meanwhile, the other female athletes are left wondering if they should have said the magic words as well. But not Brittney. Oh no. She didn't pass through with ease. She physically elbowed her way in, followed by a racial outburst. When she pursued Caitlin Clark, do you recall that little gem? Yes, that wasn't your typical terrible sportsmanship. She referred to her as a trash white chick because really, what's a little racism between woke teammates?
Brittney Griner just called Caitlin Clark a trash effing white girl. Caitlin Clark has been picked on and abused ever since she entered the league in 2024, and now Brittney Griner is joining in on the action, saying that she is an effing white trash white girl because after she fouled out, she decided to take her anger and frustration out on Caitlin Clark. If the roles were reversed, imagine the type of field day the media would be having right now. Let's all remember the character of Brittney Griner. This is the same woman who got caught smoking weed in Russia and was...
But this is where things get juicy, so hold on to your seats. The medical discoveries aren't your typical ones, are they? Things that are interesting? Nope. They speculate that Brittney may be engaged in an entirely new game. One that entails a degree of physical advantage that the majority of female athletes can only imagine. The WNBA's silence on the subject is deafening, and that advantage is biological and indisputable.
There are a number of states who are aggressively moving to prevent transgender athletes playing. And I was wondering, where is that going to be on your radar in terms of advocating for athletes, all athletes, transgender athletes to be able to play?
Oh, I mean, that ranks high on the list of things that I'll be fighting for and speaking up against. You know, everyone deserves the right to play. Everyone deserves the right to come here, sit in these seats, and feel safe.
Really, Brittney? Really? Can we switch this Brittney with the other Brittney, please, and bring her back?
Look, this isn't a plot hatched by a few keyboard warriors. We are discussing skilled medical practitioners who have researched injury histories, muscle composition, bone structure, and healing patterns. Because Brittney's body, voice, and even her actions don't fit the typical female athlete, they're more perplexed than your grandmother trying to figure out TikTok trends. A doctor might say, wait a minute, that's not a female bone density. Then the WNBA simply twiddles their thumbs, saying, go ahead, there's nothing to see.
Made a trade for the Merchant of Death and returned him back to Russia for him to continue doing the same shenanigans that he was doing before he got arrested. He sold $10 million of arms to the Houthis. You think this was an even trade? The WNBA is nothing more than the WWE with women in basketball shorts.
To make matters worse, Brittney was literally captured on camera using the subtlety of a wrecking ball to attack Caitlin Clark. However, that attack becomes less about dirty play and more about unfair dominance when you take into account the possible biological advantages she's been concealing under the pretense of gender identity. Suddenly, the entire trash white girl tirade feels like adding gasoline to a fire that has been quietly burning in the background. Do you want to be hypocritical? Let's discuss how the WNBA has been promoting fairness and inclusivity for years while ignoring these obvious issues. Telling everyone you're all unique snowflakes, but allowing one person to dominate the competition with an unfair advantage and a hint of racism is like that. I promise you that Brittney wouldn't be elbowing her way to titles if she were a straight white female. Before you could say virtue signal, she would most likely be benched, and there's the whole drama surrounding Instagram AI. Do you recall the video that reappeared? A topless video that Brittney shared on Instagram managed to evade the platform's AI, which is meant to immediately flag female nudity. Rather, it seems that the AI is so perplexed that it simply ignored her and treated the content as though it belonged to a male athlete. That may just be a malfunction, but given all the other medical questions that are emerging, it's the ideal metaphor for the WNBA strategy as a whole. A system that is trying to shield a player who might not adhere to the league's own regulations while being blind to reality and deaf to facts.
Seems that the WNBA is, well, we know it's not a serious league, but it seems like maybe they are trying to hide something. They certainly do not want anybody with an opposing viewpoint covering their league. Now, mind you, this is a league that's never turned a profit. This is a league that, even with Caitlin Clark having joined this league last year, lost $40 million.
It used to be a chill, quiet place. You could bring your laptop and relax, maybe even get a little work done. But now it's like there's a large gathering of people watching us from the stands. Some of them are yelling crazy shit about what they're seeing, putting unfair pressure on us to score like we're there for their entertainment. And that's pretty gross.
Well,
I
act like this.
Okay.
Let's give credit where credit is due, though. It makes sense that Brittney is in a panic. Losing face over those racial remarks, or even the attack on Clark, isn't the only issue. It's about having to deal with a future in which her reputation is destroyed, her eligibility is called into doubt, and her records are erased. If the medical community's demands for hormone levels, bone density scans, and chromosome tests are met, Brittney might end up serving as the spokesperson for why sports leagues require strict biological verification, not simply what I consider to be policies. And let's not even talk about the impending legal mess. There will undoubtedly be a ton of lawsuits if it turns out that Brittney has been competing under false pretenses. Imagine all the athletes who are harmed by this woke loophole standing in line to demand compensation. A small nation could become bankrupt due to the financial consequences alone. The sound of crickets chirping is louder than the wrath they are attempting to avoid. They are hiding behind a wall of silence and damage control rather than embracing transparency or establishing a precedent for justice. Perhaps they believe that if they ignore the issue, it will go away. It won't, Boiler.
It's still coming, and that's going to bump up to about $220 million a year. But even that won't matter if something happens and Caitlin Clark's ratings disappear, like they have now that she's been injured. But that is not teaching this league anything. A couple of weeks ago, and even though it went viral, it somewhat got lost in the shuffle. Brittney Griner's effing white girl trash comments that was caught on video. Some people tried to claim it was effing whack call. I'm sorry, there's not a world where
The bottom line is as follows. The goal of women's sports is to promote fair competition among female athletes. You're not only breaking the rules when you let players with masculine biological advantages to waltz in because identity is more important than biology. The entire playing field is being disrupted by you. What does it imply to every female athlete who works tirelessly to compete on an even playing field that their efforts are pointless if Brittney Griner continues to play in the WNBA without any testing or accountability? This isn't just a Brittney Griner issue, though. The whole basis of women's sports is being rocked by this problem. Leagues such as the WNBA have long claimed to support empowerment and equality. However, in the sake of political correctness, they have discreetly let biological realities to be disregarded. This has nothing to do with prejudice or hatred. It's about upholding competitive integrity, which every athlete is entitled to. Consider it. Because biology is important, there has always been a sex split in sports. The bodies of males and women are essentially different. Hormone levels, lung capacity, muscle mass, and bone density are more than just facts. They produce benefits and drawbacks that influence athletes' performance. Ignoring these distinctions is irresponsible, not progressive. Brittney Griner is now the embodiment of this carelessness. Some fringe voices aren't the source of the growing worries inside the medical community. They are based on decades of scientific investigation. It's not an assault on Griner's identity when scientists note that her physical traits are more in line with male nature. It's an appeal to maintain fair play.
Watching on purpose, it's very disruptive. It's called a freaking game that they pay you money to play. Don't play the game. It's very disruptive. It continues. Brittney Griner voiced frustration in a recent interview, claiming that Caitlin Clark is ruining what used to make the WNBA great. Wait for this.
Empty stands?
This is why the WNBA is never, ever, ever going to work and never make money. And this is exactly what Caitlin Clark gets for bending the knee. Do you guys remember when she said, when we lost all respect for her, when she said, I want to say I've earned every single thing, but as a white person, there is privilege. And the more we can elevate black women, this is going to be a beautiful thing. That's when it was all over. And Angel Reese and Brittney Griner, they walk around like the league owes them something. Even Ryan Clark's attitude as if, bro, where's the victimhood? These are freaking millionaires. Like, what are you talking about? It's attitude, it's no humility, just entitlement, and that's not confidence, it's arrogance with receipts.
Imagine being a female basketball player who, despite identifying as a woman, has inherent physical advantages that cannot be eliminated by hormone therapy or self-identification alone. Imagine training for years and giving up sweat and tears to earn a chance at glory. That's what's taking place. Furthermore, it is discouraging in addition to being unfair. The way the WNBA and other regulating bodies have reacted is much more concerning. They have opted for obfuscation and quiet rather than confronting these difficult problems head-on. It seems as though acknowledging the issue would undermine their meticulously constructed image of inclusivity. Here's the harsh reality, though. When fairness is sacrificed for inclusivity, there is no inclusivity at all. It's a betrayal. Furthermore, it goes beyond competition fairness. It has to do with safety. Sports for women are more than just recreational. They are physically taxing, high impact, and occasionally violent. The danger of injury increases dramatically when sportsmen compete on uneven terrain. Nevertheless, the league appears determined to ignore these issues rather than openly addressing them.
Griner once revealed in an ESPN interview the struggle she faced with her body and outward appearance when she was growing up. Yes, she's very flat-chested. Listen, there's arguments about there. There's arguments out there about people that think she's not a biological woman. I ain't gonna argue with you too hard. Fact checkers say she is, but just essentially is completely flat-chested.
To be clear, this has nothing to do with dismantling or restricting anyone's freedom to live their life as they see fit. It's about safeguarding the competitive environment that women's sports have worked so hard to create. It's about respecting the sacrifices made by female athletes and making sure that laws that don't take into account physical realities don't negate their efforts. If anything, Brittney Griner's predicament ought to serve as a warning. Sports leagues must create precise, biologically and scientifically grounded eligibility requirements. Although this may sound contentious, ignoring the problem won't make it go away. Due to a lack of appropriate regulation, these women's possibilities are diminished despite their persistent efforts to compete on an equitable playing field. What would happen if this issue wasn't resolved? There could be disastrous outcomes. Sponsors might withdraw. The legitimacy of women's sports may be irreversibly destroyed, and fans may lose faith. This is an exaggeration. If governing entities continue to put appearances ahead of justice, it's a serious possibility.
The WNBA is committed to eradicating racism, along with criticism and most other isms. Now, of course, feminism is allowed, along with feminine masculinism. A week or so into the season, Bob Griner potentially violated the No Space for Hate policy. Bob was caught on video speaking blasphemous rhetoric towards the Great White Hope, but for some reason, Kat Engelbert is choosing to ignore it. Kat Engelbert can't find the interest to even launch an investigation.
It's time to demand accountability for the athletes and fans who feel deceived. Shout out the quiet. Encourage openness. Encourage women to struggle for justice and respect rather than simply medals. Women's sports are ultimately more than just entertainment. They serve as a fiercely contested battlefield for dignity, equality, and opportunity. Everyone who loves about the game suffers if politics and unfair standards take over that battlefield. Thus, the story of Brittney Griner is more than just a headline. It is a sign of a far more serious problem. And if it's not handled, the repercussions will affect not just the WNBA courts, but also the entire future of women's sports globally.